Every year, the very best companies, nationally and internationally, spend millions and tens of millions and hundreds of millions of dollars researching customer preferences and customer behavior. They ask them in every conceivable way what they want and how they want it and how much they're willing to pay. And all product innovation, all marketing is designed at developing products and services that are consistent with what people want and what they're willing to pay for. Well, I've invested thousands of hours and years of studying to determine why it is that people do the things they do. And I finally came to some conclusions which I've shared all over the world and which everybody agrees with. And I want to share those with you now and show you how you can understand consumer behavior for the rest of your life. Primarily because it'll help you understand your behavior as well. And all human beings seem to be motivated by the same principle, which we'll come to in a couple of minutes. We say that economics, entrepreneurship, and business success all require an understanding of how people think and decide in a competitive market. Ultimately, all production of goods and services are for the purposes of consumption by someone, somewhere. The better that you can understand human behavior and the categories of human action, the easier it is for you to start and build a successful business under any circumstances. Now, our entire economic system is merely the expression of the choices of millions of consumers satisfying their daily needs in work and personal life. Your job is to harmonize your business activities, marketing, selling, everything you do, so you can satisfy the needs of these consumers, your customers, better than anyone else. So let's talk about economics and human nature, who people are, who people really are deep inside. And by the way, this has not changed in 100,000 years. Macroeconomics is the study of large changes in investment, production, employment, prices, and economic activity. Macroeconomics, which I've taken, deals with interest rates and unemployment rates and international flows of trade and balances of payments and so on. On the other hand, microeconomics is the study of individuals and of the millions of individual actions and how they all come together to produce macroeconomic statistics. Let's start with the granddaddy law of the universe. It's called the law of cause and effect. Some say it's the iron law of human destiny. It was first originated by Aristotle back in 350 BC. In his academy outside of Athens, he proposed what he called the principle of causality, which said, at a time when everyone believed in gods and random events and chance and luck, what Aristotle said no, is everything happens for a reason. There's a reason for everything, and even if we don't know what the reason is, everything is governed by law, not by chance. This was such a revolutionary thought at the time that people believed in the gods on Mount Olympus and so on, that they said for the next 2,000 years, all of philosophy was merely footnotes to Aristotle. What this law says, the law of cause and effect, which changed my life, by the way, changes the life of every person who understands it. It says that entrepreneurial success or failure, or individual success or failure, is not an accident. It is predictable. Your job is to determine what you want and then to initiate the causes of the effects that you desire. For example, if you do what other successful entrepreneurs do over and over, you'll eventually get the same results they do. And if you don't, you won't. What we say is that success leaves tracks. Success is not an accident. Failure is not an accident. It's based on the law of cause and effect. If you're not getting the effects, the sales, the growth, the profitability that you want, it is not the law that is at fault. It is your use of the law. And this brings us to the first law of economics, which he talked about before. It's called the law of scarcity. The law of scarcity says that for any product or service to have value, it must be scarce or limited relative to the demand for it. If it's not scarce, then the price will be low. If it is scarce and people really want it, the price will be high, just like bidding in an auction, which is what the marketplace is. An economic good, is what they call, is one for which there's a greater demand than there is available supply. Homes, cars, clothes, food are economic goods, and therefore are valuable and have prices because they are scarce relative to the number of people who want them. Oxygen, on the other hand, is available in unlimited amounts to everyone who wants to breathe. Therefore, it has no economic value. Except, when does oxygen have economic value? Well, I'll tell you this, when you're down 50 or 60 feet and your tanks run out of oxygen and you need oxygen from someone else, then oxygen has an extraordinary value because now it is desired and it is scarce. The law of supply and demand, which we also mentioned, says that the price of any economic good is determined by the supply of that good relative to the demand. When the demand for a good increases, customers will offer a higher price for that good, like an auction. When the supply of a good increases relative to the demand, in other words, the demand stays the same but the supply increases, customers will offer less or pay less for the same good. At the market clearing price, all buyers will be able to sell all they have available, and all customers willing to purchase at that price will be satisfied. And in a flea market or a farmer's market, the very best outcome is that at the end of the day, the farmer goes home with nothing left, and all of his customers go home as the sun sets, having satisfied all of their needs. That's the ultimate and perfect goal of business activity. Now, human nature has not changed for many thousands of years. All human behavior is the result of 7 characteristics which are common to all people of all races, colors, creeds, nationalities throughout all of history. Here is an illustration of these qualities, and I'll do this by giving you what I call a crash course in Economics 101. Sometimes I will talk to my audience and I'll ask a series of questions to help them understand these categories of human behavior. The first question I'll say is, imagine being offered the same job with the pay being either $50,000 a year or $100,000 a year. Which one would you choose? Well, all things being equal, you would choose the higher amount. You'd choose $100,000 a year over 50. Why? It's because people always prefer more rather than less if they have a choice. Human beings' favorite word is more, as they always prefer more to less. This means that everyone, using this definition, is greedy in his or her economic choices. Now, some people get offended by this and they say, well, wait a minute, but all business people prefer more to less. All human beings prefer more to less. There's nothing wrong with being greedy. The word greedy is a word that has been created in politics and religion to beat people with, because human beings cannot avoid being greedy. In gravity, things fall down. Human beings prefer more to less. That's just the way it is. It is only the way that they demonstrate this. If they demonstrate it in harmful behaviors to others and to themselves, then it's a bad quality. If they demonstrate it by finding better, faster, cheaper ways to serve more people and make more money by helping people, then it's a good quality. But the word greedy itself and all these other words are all neutral. It's only the way they're expressed. So here's the second question in our Economics 101 class. Imagine that you could receive $100,000 per year for an easy job, or you could receive the same amount for a difficult job. Which one would you choose? Well, the answer is that all things being equal, you would always choose the easier job rather than the harder job. You see, it is not possible for a human being to choose a harder way to accomplish a task if there's an easier way available. Sometimes we refer to the law of least resistance, that human beings always take the way of least resistance to do anything. Human nature is like water. It always flows downhill. If you choose the easier way over the harder way, it means that in this sense, everyone is lazy in both their personal and economic lives. Again, there's nothing wrong with being lazy. If people use laziness to develop high technology products that enable people to accomplish extraordinary things faster and easier, then it benefits all of mankind. If laziness is demonstrated by laying around and trying to live off of others and hurting themselves and their families, well, then it's a bad quality. But the word lazy is neutral. So here's the next lesson in Economics 101. Imagine that you could have this $100,000 payment for the year on January 1st or December 31st, of the same year. When would you prefer to have the money? And the answer is, because you're normal, you will always choose to have the money or satisfaction sooner rather than later. You will want it on January 1st rather than on December 31st. Why? Well, because of potential uncertainty, people always prefer immediate gratification to delayed gratification. It's just the way they are. If you've got kids, you see this all the time. In this sense, everyone is impatient in their personal and economic lives. Nothing wrong with being impatient. Impatience is a good thing if it leads to benefits for the individual and for other people. Impatience is a bad thing if it leads to harm. But the word itself is neutral. All human actions are aimed at the improvement of conditions in some way. If you are looking for why people buy anything, the one word is improvement. So, how do you know this? A person only takes action when he feels that he will be better off as a result. If no improvement is possible, the individual won't act at all. They'll just sit there. So in this sense, it means that everyone is ambitious, in that each person strives continually for improvement of some kind. Even if you get up to change the radio, you're getting up to make an improvement of some kind. So now we have 4 categories of human action. People are greedy, lazy, impatient, and ambitious. You, me, everybody else. Which brings us to the next category. Because human tastes and desires are always personal, only the individual, only you know what will make you happy. This means that every human action is aimed at increasing the happiness of the individual. If it's not going to make you happier, why would you do it? Only you know what will make you happy. Only an individual knows what will make him or her happy. So in this sense, every person is selfish in that they act only to achieve their own personal happiness. They act from their own point of view. They pick their foods in the smorgasbord or the buffet based on their own personal taste. They marry a person based on their own desires. In other words, each person is selfish. Nothing wrong with being selfish. It's impossible for a human being to be other than selfish. Only you can eat for yourself, drink for yourself, make choices for yourself, and they're all aimed at increasing your happiness. We also know that it's impossible for anyone to know everything that there is to know about any subject. Even the most brilliant physicist is still exploring the field. The finest doctor or specialist in a particular area is still studying the field. They could spend their whole life studying the workings of the inner ear and never know it all. So this means that every action, therefore, involves a certain amount of uncertainty. Since you can't know everything there is to know, you can't be absolutely sure of anything that you do. It's impossible to know everything about a subject before acting. So in this sense, every person is ignorant to a certain degree in every area. Every person is ignorant in some way. There's nothing wrong with being ignorant. It's just absolutely inevitable. It's an inevitable category of human action. Well, each person lives and acts from their own personal worldview and is therefore egotistical. You can't see the world except through your own eyes, your own experience, your own taste. And we also know that because of ego, each person seeks acceptance, appreciation, and approval of other people in order to validate themselves as a person. Each person is sensitive to how he or she is viewed or treated by other people. In this sense, every person is vain in the decisions they make and the actions they take. It's not possible for a human being to lack vanity. Vanity is a normal category of human behavior. So based on the above, each person is therefore greedy, lazy, impatient, ambitious, selfish, ignorant, and vain to a certain degree, and some people to a great degree. Now these attitudes are neither good nor bad in themselves. Instead, they're just normal and natural categories of human behavior. It is only the behaviors of the person in expressing these attitudes and the actions that they take with these behaviors that can be judged as either positive or negative. We say the most revered saint and the worst tyrant are both motivated and guided by all 7 categories. Think of a revered saint. Well, I worked with Dr. Albert Schweitzer in Africa many years ago. He was all of these characteristics, but they were all focused on helping more of the natives and tending more natives with medical problems. Mother Teresa of Calcutta, great humanitarian. She was lazy, greedy, impatient. She wanted more, faster, cheaper, easier as well, but she wanted to help more people who were on the verge of dying. And everything she did in building her missionaries of charity was to extend their services to help more people, and to help them faster, and to help them better, and to help them easier, and so on. So what we know is there's nothing wrong with it. You take Saddam Hussein, an evil person, he builds 29 palaces, some of which he lives in one day a year, while his people are starving. So even a tyrant is also all of these qualities, but unfortunately in this case they're expressed in a negative way. Now, we talked before about the law of secondary consequences. This is an important law. It says that the consideration of the secondary consequences of an action is the hallmark of wisdom and intelligence. You see, the primary consequences of any action you take, because of human behavior, are always aimed at happiness. They're always aimed at an improvement of some kind. That's the primary consequences. But the secondary consequences of an action are what happen as a result of the primary consequences. Most problems in life come from inaccurately predicting the secondary consequences. A person has a few drinks with their friend and drives home and has an accident and becomes crippled for life. The primary consequences are having a good time with your friends. The secondary consequences can be disastrous. In business, you must constantly be comparing the primary against the secondary. You must be continually playing down the chessboard a few moves ahead in life. And your ability to do that is the mark of your intelligence and your wisdom. Which brings us to the expediency factor. The expediency factor explains most economic and personal behavior. The expediency factor is my ultimate conclusion after 25 years of research into human beings, human behavior, and human psychology. This is what it says. It says that individuals are greedy, lazy, impatient, ambitious, selfish, ignorant, and vain. And as a result, they always seek the fastest and easiest way to get the things they want with little concern for the secondary consequences. This law explains almost all normal and natural and abnormal and unnatural human behavior. This law explains the behavior of your customers in your marketplace and in any marketplace, competitive or otherwise. It explains the behavior in every shopping mall, in every bazaar, in every store, in every internet exchange, in every stock exchange. It explains all consumer behavior. Successful entrepreneurs are those who accept and include these categories of human behavior in all their business planning. They don't fight against the laws of nature. They don't fight against gravity. They get into harmony with gravity, and they make sure that everything that they do, based on the way people are, is conducive to convincing people that based on all of these categories, their product or service is the best choice. The expediency factor explains the behavior of men and women at all levels of society, in all areas of work and endeavor, private, public, and governmental. Just as a good doctor will apply these behaviors to offer more and better services to as many different patients as possible, a good business person will apply these principles to offer more and better goods and services that appeal to the greatest number of prospective customers in the market. When you understand the way people think and what motivates people to act, and you harmonize everything you do in your business so that it makes sense for people to buy from you rather than from someone else, your success is assured. When I was 20 years old, I became fascinated by the whole idea of human psychology, the way people think, especially the way I thought. When we study psychology, we're fascinated by ourselves. We are the most interesting people in the world to ourselves. So I bought a book on psychology, and then behavioral psychology, and then Gestalt psychology, and abnormal psychology. And over the years, I spent hundreds, maybe thousands of hours trying to study and figure out why and how the human mind works the way it does. And when I got into sales, and of course, sales motivation and sales management and marketing and writing advertising, I kept thinking about what motivates people to behave. And what we'll talk about in this session are some ideas that I think are the most profound ideas that pretty much summarize why people buy your products and services and why they might not. We have to start off by saying that human beings are extraordinarily complex. There's no simple answer and there's no pat answer. Human beings have so many wants and desires and needs and feelings and conflicting emotions all tumbling and turbulent together. And at the same time, there are certain things that everyone wants and which everyone has in common with every other person in the world throughout all of history. To be successful as an entrepreneur, you must recognize the wants and needs of your prospective customers and then design, produce, and promote your products and services so that your customer sees what you offer as the very best way to satisfy those needs. So let's talk about economics and human nature and what people really want. We know that your ability to produce products and services that people want and are willing to pay for in a competitive market is the critical determinant of your success as an entrepreneur. The more knowledgeable and skilled you are about what people want, the easier it will be for you to produce the things that people are willing to pay for in competition with other products and services available. So let's start off with the law of choice. The law of choice says that people are choosing organisms, and that means you. And every single decision in life is a choice of some kind. From the time you get up in the morning to the time you go to bed at night, you're constantly choosing. Every single motion, every single item that you pick or don't pick is a choice. Now, people always choose on the basis of what is most important to them at that moment. It may not be the same as a moment before or a moment afterwards, but people always choose on the basis of what is most important to them at the moment of choice. The true values and desires of a person are only and always expressed in their actions, in the choices that they actually make. It's not what a person says, but what a person does that is the real truth about that person. And this brings us to another law. This is called the law of duality. And this is kind of a fun law because it says that there are two reasons for everything that a person does in both private and public life. The first reason is the reason that sounds good, the reason that is socially acceptable. Whenever politicians or business people say that this is what they're doing it for the people or the poor or something else, that's the reason that's socially acceptable. But the real reason that people act is based on the principle of expediency. Everything that people do, I don't care who they are, is aimed at getting the things they want the fastest and easiest way possible without concern for the secondary consequences of their actions. A person says, I want this, but what they really want is to get something else the fastest and easiest way possible with little concern about what happens afterwards. Now, each person has four basic desires or drives in life, in all nationalities, societies, and cultures. The first is health and energy. Everyone wants to be healthy and fit and free from pain and illness and live a long life. In fact, if you go to a Chinese fortune teller in Hong Kong, every Chinese fortune teller will say, aha, you are going to live a long life, have many grandchildren, and enjoy wonderful health. In other words, they always predict a long life, and people say, oh, what a wonderful fortune, and they pay them for the fortune. We all want health. And by the way, this is also what we call the deficiency need. We don't even think about our health until it's taken away from us, and then we think of nothing else. The second basic need we all have is happy relationships. Every person wants to have happy and peaceful relationships with people that they love and care about and who care about them. And if we have happy relationships, we turn our minds to other things. If we don't, we think of nothing else. The third thing we all want is a good career and a good income. Each person wants to do work that they enjoy and to do it well, to be respected by other people for doing it well, and to be well paid for it. If you're in a job you don't like or you feel you're not earning enough money, you'll think about it all the time and it will cast a pall over the rest of your life. And the fourth thing that we all want is financial independence. Each person wants to achieve financial independence. reach the point where they don't have to worry about money ever again. And so we strive for all four of these things all of our lives. The role of the entrepreneur is to produce products and services that satisfy one or more of these basic fundamental needs. The role of government in a good society is to create an economic and legal environment where the greatest number of people and entrepreneurs are free to satisfy these needs at the highest level. A good country is a country where more people can achieve health and good relationships and good work and financial independence than another country. Now, there are 7 basic human desires that people strive to satisfy throughout their lives. If one or more of these desires are satisfied, the person immediately strives to satisfy another of the basic needs. Nobody is ever satisfied or content for any period of time. The first need of all, and this was identified by Abraham Maslow in his hierarchy of needs, is survival. The survival instinct is the most powerful instinct in the human being. The desire to stay alive is the most powerful of all human drives. The desire to protect the physical well-being of one's family, friends, and countrymen is a powerful human drive as well. Only when physical survival is guaranteed can the person begin thinking about satisfying other, what are called higher human desires. The second desire that we all have and need is security. Once a person is assured of survival, he starts to become concerned about security in every part of his life. First of all, financial security. Every person fears poverty and financial loss and strives to overcome them and guard against them. Emotional security is the second security we need. Each person requires a certain amount of emotional security and safety in their environment with the people around them to be comfortable. And third of all, physical security. Each person requires food, warmth, shelter, and clothing to a certain level. And as soon as we have reached the survival level, we turn to think about security. Once we've got survival and security covered, we start to think about comfort. We start to strive to be comfortable. For example, people invest enormous amounts of time and money to create a comfortable home environment. This is a major area of purchase and economic activity. People strive to create a comfortable work environment. People strive to be comfortable in every situation, and they will pay an enormous amount of money to increase their level of comfort. By the way, when you think of your products, do your products increase the survivability of people, like seatbelts, excellent brakes, high-quality cars and automobiles with, built-in airbags? These are all aimed at increasing survival. How about safety and security? Alarm systems, life insurance of all kinds, business insurance. These are all aimed at giving people a higher level of safety and security. What about comfort? Anything that you can offer or produce that increases people's comfort level is something that is attractive because these are basic needs. The next thing that people want, once the first 3 are covered, is people want leisure. They want to relax. They want to take as much time off as possible. People constantly seek opportunities to stop working and to relax. Evenings, weekends, vacations are of central importance to the majority of people. Leisure time activities are a trillion-dollar industry, whether it's sports or television or radio or movies or theater or books or vacations or anything that is a form of leisure time activity plays a central role in human behavior and decision-making. Does your product or service increase, enhance, improve people's ability to enjoy leisure? Very important question. The next basic need that people have, once they've satisfied these basic needs and they can sit down and take a rest, they're comfortable, they have leisure time, is love. Love is number 5. People have an intense need to build and maintain loving relationships. Psychologists say that everything you do is either to get love or to compensate for a lack of love in your life or in your childhood. They also say that adult personality is largely formed by the quality and quantity of love received or withheld in childhood. A person who gets an enormous amount of love when they're growing up tends to be a very healthy, relaxed human being. A person who suffers love deprivation in childhood from one or both parents is a person who strives for it all their life. And that describes many of us. The desire to create a secure, loving environment, a home, a family, is a major motivator of human behavior. By the way, that's why people buy flowers and jewelry and presents and clothes and things for kids. It's in order to earn love, to enhance love, to build loving relationships, to build families. Anything that you can offer as a product or service that enhances the quality of the loving relationship around a person is something the person needs and is willing to buy and pay for. Now, the sixth need that every person has is for respect. This is earning and keeping the respect of others as a powerful human instinct. We need the respect of others. In fact, they say that almost everything that we do is aimed at earning the respect of others. Losing the respect of others can cause considerable unhappiness. Gaining a position of respect can be more important than money. In psychology, you'll see that people have a tremendous desire for power. People will run for political office, even if it doesn't pay very much, because being respected as owning a political office often helps people compensate for deficiencies in many other areas of their life. Well, the seventh need that people have is for fulfillment. It's the highest human desire is to fulfill your potential as a person. It's for self-esteem, self-respect, self-actualization. People are motivated to become everything that they're capable of becoming. Throughout your life, you strive to use more of your natural talents and abilities, to become more of what you're capable of becoming. And the desire for personal fulfillment, for feeling a sense of joy and personal expression in life can rise above all other motivations. Now, the bottom line of all of these needs is money and power. Because what people have found is that money and power will get them safety, security, comfort, leisure, love, respect, and fulfillment faster and easier than anything else. And so all of our society, all of the world is aimed at accumulating money and power in order to satisfy these other needs, the fastest and easiest way possible, which explains much of what you read in the newspapers. Now, there's an ABC theory of human motivation, which explains why people behave the way they do. The A stands for antecedents. These are the things that happened before. These are the ideas and information from your past that you consider before taking action. Your antecedents have a tremendous influence on what you decide to do or not do. The B in the ABC theory are behaviors. These are the specific actions that you can take to achieve a particular goal. The C in the ABC theory are the consequences. This is your assessment or evaluation of what will occur if you engage in a particular action. Now, here's what we've discovered. Only 15% of your motivation to act comes from your information and past experience, your antecedents. Fully 85% of your motivation and the motivation of your customers to act, to buy something, to do something, comes from yours or their expectation or anticipation of the consequences of the behavior. You see, everything you do is aimed at improving your situation in some way. The basic human drive to action is always an improvement of some kind. By the way, the basic spur to action is what is called a felt dissatisfaction. A person feels dissatisfied in their current situation and sees a possibility of improving their situation, a consequence, and is therefore motivated to take action, the behavior. Now, the role of the entrepreneur is to provide the B in the ABC equation of human motivation. You encourage the customer to engage in the behavior of buying your product or service in order to get from where they are, dissatisfied, to where they can be in a much better condition. First of all, you determine where your potential customer is today in terms of their wants and needs that are unsatisfied. You then develop a product or service that represents an improvement over his or her situation, the C. You then demonstrate to the customer that he can get the improvement that he desires by using your product or service, the B in the equation. Now you'll find that all business is based on this. First of all, you have to know your customer and what will motivate your customer to act. Second of all, you have to produce a product or service that is a vast improvement over what the customer has or has not at this time. And B, you have to convince the customer that the buying decision for your product or service is the way he or she gets the improvement that he or she wants. Successful entrepreneurs are excellent students of behavioral psychology, either consciously or instinctively. They clearly understand how people think and what motivates them to take action. Remember, each potential customer is greedy, lazy, impatient, selfish, ambitious, ignorant, and vain. Each potential customer seeks survival, security, comfort, leisure, love, respect, and fulfillment, just like you. The product or service provided by the entrepreneur is the means by which customers can get what they want the fastest and easiest way possible, with little or no concern for the secondary consequences. Now, some people may disagree with these categories of human action and human behavior. I've had people get up and walk out of a talk where I've tried to explain these. However, these ideas and concepts have been discovered and rediscovered throughout all the ages of human history. They are contained in every story, every book that ever talks about the way people think and act. The very best way for you to determine the truth of a statement like this is to simply ask yourself, is this true for me? You see, if you compare everything that I've said about human motivations and human desires and human nature, you just have to ask, is it true for me? And if you're truly honest with yourself, you will find that you're expedient just like everybody else. You want the same things that everyone else. You're driven by the same human characteristics of action as everyone else. The only question is how you behave. Remember, these traits and qualities are neither positive nor negative. They're simply facts of human nature. It is only the way that an individual behaves that determines whether or not these qualities are demonstrated in a positive or negative way. And the only way to measure is by looking at the secondary consequences of the actions. So take your products and services, take everything you're doing, and ask yourself, is what we are offering in harmony with the way people are and with what people want? And how can we make our customers or prospective customers see that the very best choice for them, based on who they are and what they want and the expediency factor, is to buy our product or service to satisfy their most pressing need at the moment. For many years, the whole idea of customer service was kind of a secondary thing. It was a lower level department. There used to be a time where you would make the sale, you would have it delivered, and that was the end of it. You wouldn't see the customer again for 6 or 12 months, if at all. However, today we live in a world of what is called a multi-call sale, where you have to see the customer several times, and the sale goes on after the sale and often continues for years. So what we have found is that how customers feel about your after-sale service largely determines whether they buy from you in the first place. And that's why the most successful companies and entrepreneurs offer the highest quality of customer service to people after they've bought the product or service. Now, the most important sale is the second sale. I've worked with some of the biggest companies in the world who've realized that the key to their success is to treat their customers so well during the entire usage period of the product or service that they're very open to buying from them again. Why is the most important sale the second sale? Because you can get the first sale by discounting, by promises, by guarantees, warranties, and all kinds of things. But the second sale proves that you delivered on your promises the first time. Now, what we know is that the second sale takes approximately 1/10 of the time and expense to achieve and is therefore the most profitable sale of all. No company can succeed with single sales. No company can succeed if people just buy once and never buy again. There's not enough advertising dollars in the world to be successful if people do not buy from you again as a result of the way you serve them after they buy from you the first time. So, how do we go about serving our customer? We know that customer service is the entire process of building and maintaining a relationship with your customer from the first moment of contact all the way through to the delivery and throughout the entire time that they use your product or service. And every part of it has to be thought through in advance to make it a seamless procedure. Your customer is the most important person determining your success or failure, as you already know. So, as we said before, define your ideal customer exactly in every detail. Who is the perfect customer for your business? Who is the customer that you want to attract, that you want to take good care of, that you want to buy from you again, and you want to recommend to other people like them? Next point is determine the most important benefits that you offer to your ideal customer. What is it that you offer your customer in terms of benefits that makes you what we call the preeminent choice, the first choice, the best choice to buy from you? And then continually seek for ways to improve the quality of the customer experience. Interesting point, when customers complain about any part of your business, it's usually a piece of advice that you can use to improve your quality in that area. So what really good companies do is they listen closely to customer complaints, because customers, when they complain, are telling you what you have to do to serve them even better in the future. Now, your customer service policy is how you intend to treat your customers. A customer service policy is something that you think through and that you write down so that everybody knows how you treat customers once they've bought your product or service. The way you define your customer service policy is you start by defining the ultimate customer experience. Now, the ultimate customer experience is the very best experience that a customer could have dealing with you. It is the perfect experience. It is the experience that leaves the customer so happy that they want to buy from you and tell their friends about it. And you have to define in advance exactly what that experience needs to be, and then make sure that everything in your company achieves that wonderful experience. So if the customer experience was perfect, what would have to happen? What would have to happen for the customer to be really, really happy that they bought from you? Here's a better question. If your customers could say anything to other people about you and the way you treated them, what would you want them to say? What are the specific words or descriptions? Would you want them to say, that's the best company I ever dealt with. Those are the most wonderful people. They have the fastest and best service I ever had. They have the greatest products. What would you want people to say about you? And what can you do to make sure that after dealing with you, people say this about you spontaneously to other people in the marketplace? That's the key. Now, there are 4 factors in any product or service that determine customer satisfaction. This is based on some very good work at Harvard University, and it's important that you understand what they are. The first is what is called the generic or basic product. Let's say that you sell computers. The computer is a generic product. It comes in a box. You set it up. It performs certain functions. People absolutely have to get the basic product that they ordered and paid for. The second factor is what is called the expected product. Now, the expected product is something that's not necessarily written down, but the customer expects to get it in a proper box with proper padding, with proper instructions. They expect it to be clean, new, with no scratches or blemishes. You didn't write that down anywhere, but this is what they expect. And we find that the starting point of customer dissatisfaction is called frustrated expectations. They expected to get it at a certain date, and it didn't come. They expected to get it in a certain box or form, and it didn't arrive. They expected it would be set up once it was delivered, and your repair person never showed up. If you don't give people what they expected, even though you haven't emphasized it, then they become dissatisfied immediately. So let's say you've now delivered the generic product and you delivered the expected but unwritten product. The next part that generates customer satisfaction is called the augmented product. Now, the augmented product is what you add to the product that makes it different. It's like the baker's dozen, when the baker would sell a dozen rolls and put in a 13th roll. That's not expected. It's not part of the basic product, but it adds to the treatment. And what if the baker wraps up the bag and puts a ribbon on it? And what if the baker wraps up the bag, puts in the extra roll, and gives the person a carnation or a flower when they leave the shop? In other words, these are the little things that you do that exceed the expectations of your customers. Now, here's an important point. If you give something extra each time that exceeds expectation, it soon becomes an expectation and no longer has a motivational power on the customer. So once a person starts to add something additional repeatedly, that becomes the expected product. And if the customer doesn't get it, then they become real irritable. And finally, and this is the great area of creativity, there is what is called the potential product. Now, this potential product is limited only by your imagination. It's all the different things that you could do to add to your product or service that nobody has even thought about, that stands out in your customer's mind and makes your customer especially happy that they bought from you. So every single day you must be thinking, what is our basic product? What is the expected product? What are the augments or additional things that we can add to the product? But what are all the things that we could do to make our customers really happy that they bought from us? That's the key to the future. Now, human beings are primarily emotional. That means that the way you treat them as people is all important in business. I have worked with companies that buy million-dollar products or sell million-dollar products in very competitive industries, and they make the decision to pay millions of dollars because of the personality of one or two people in the company that cause them to like them because they treat them so well. So don't ever underestimate the importance of treating people really, really well. Well, Harvard did some research some years ago about quality, and they asked people, how important is quality to you? And people said quality is all important. And so they asked, well, how do you define quality? And they found that quality consists of two factors. Quality equals a combination of the product itself and the way the product is sold, the way that the people deal with you in the selling of the product. Have you ever had an experience where you went into a store where the product was excellent, but the person who sold it to you was rude or difficult to deal with? Do you notice that it just completely turned you off in terms of a customer experience? You might never go back again. You might not even buy it the first time. It's not just the product, it's the services associated with the product that combine to give the perception of a quality experience. 68% of customers, according to the studies, leave a supplier not because of lower prices or not because of better quality, but because of poor treatment. And the word that they use in the studies is because of indifference on the part of someone in the company. They phoned up and the person on the phone was rude, or they put them on hold and didn't come back, or they called and they got no response, or they had a problem and nobody helped them. And as a result, they very quietly just say, okay, fine. And they leave and they buy from someone else. It's been said that the most expensive customer in your business is the customer who walks away quietly and never says anything, just leaves, because that customer will tell 10 to 20 other people not to deal with you. The customer who is dissatisfied, who walks away, is the most expensive customer in your business. Now, remember that every customer contact is what is called a moment of truth. Every customer contact is having an effect on customers which determines whether or not they are happy, and that determines whether or not they will buy from you again in the future. So this whole idea of moments of truth, from the telephone call to the presentation by the salesperson to the interaction with the service people. One of the things I've done with Fortune 500 companies is train their technicians and their service people to be good customer relationship experts, to work with customers and to treat the customers as though they were special, even though their job is just to fix the machinery, because that's a customer contact as well, which determines the success of the business. Here's the great rule: everything counts. Everything that you do counts. Everything makes a positive or negative impression. Everything counts. If you say you'll be there at a certain time and you're on time, makes a great impression. If you say you'll be there at a certain time and you don't show up and don't call, it makes a terribly negative impression. Remember, positive impressions come from meeting expectations. Negative impressions come from disappointed expectations. So you need to satisfy the deep subconscious needs of your customers. And these are pretty simple to satisfy. First of all, they're just acceptance. When you deal with a customer, live or on the phone, smile. Treat the person as if you're happy to see them. Treat them as if they're really important and an important part of your business. Just let them experience in your voice and in your face that you're happy to see them. That alone will get you almost all the way home. The second way that you satisfy the deep subconscious needs of customers is through appreciation. And by appreciation, just say thank you. Thank your customers when they buy from you. Thank your customers with notes. I just went to a restaurant the other day that has me as a special customer on their internet. And I have a special customer number. And whenever I call that restaurant, they pull up my name while I'm on the phone and immediately get me a table. And the next day, they write me a little note saying, thank you very much for coming in. We really enjoyed having you. We look forward to seeing you again. And you know what happens? It's like a ball on a string. You just keep going back to the places where you're most appreciated. So the more you say thank you, the more customers will come back to you to buy again. Another way to satisfy the deep subconscious needs of customers is with attention. Everybody loves to be listened to. So listen closely to your customers when they talk to you. Nod, smile, listen, ask questions, make it clear that you care about your customers. We say that attentive or focused listening builds self-esteem in people. It makes your customers feel happy that they're dealing with you and with your business. And the best thing of all about listening is this, listening builds trust and loyalty. Customers keep coming back to companies where they feel the most appreciated, where people listen to them and talk to them and ask them questions. They feel more loyal to you just by the very act of teaching all of your people to listen to your customers when they talk. Now, there are 4 different levels of customer satisfaction. The first level is meeting customer expectations. Now, today, this is the minimum to stay in business. If customers' expectations are not met, they walk immediately. They don't wait around, they don't complain, they just leave and go somewhere else. So this will keep you in business, but it won't get you any further ahead. The second part of customer satisfaction is exceeding customer expectations. This is where you go beyond what customers expect. You smile more, you're friendlier, you're more helpful, you do little things that they hadn't expected. This makes them bright and happy. This is the key to the growth of your company. Always looking for ways to exceed their expectations. Now, the third key to customer satisfaction is delighting your customers. This is the third level. In delighting your customers, you do something for them that they hadn't expected at all. You do something for them that they didn't even know that you were going to do. I'll give you a very simple example. A restaurant I went to the other day, at the end of the meal, after everything, and it was all excellent, they came by and they offered free liqueurs. They offered you port or Courvoisier or Grand Marnier, and there was no charge to it. And you thought, well, isn't that nice? Because they charge, $7, $8, $10 for this if you ordered it off the menu. They just brought it by as a little gift. And so you walk away and your last impression of leaving that restaurant was, wasn't that nice? I mean, that was unexpected, it was uncharged for, wasn't that nice? How could you delight your customers? By the way, in the information age, sending your customers a piece of information, and we do this with our clients, is we send them summaries of books that I've read. We send them free lists of things that they can do to achieve goals in certain areas. We send them free newsletters. We send them lots of things that we don't charge for, but they're things that help them to improve their life or work. And we get hundreds, thousands of letters back, people saying, thank you. I mean, hadn't expected to get that. I really enjoy getting it. So how could you delight your customers, and sometimes in a very cost-effective way, sometimes in a no-cost way? And finally, the fourth level of customer satisfaction is amazing your customers. This is where you do stuff to your customers and for your customers that just amaze them and cause them to go out and tell everybody about you. I'll give you an example. We bought a very expensive computer setup for our company. We paid $150,000 for it. At the last minute, we were going to buy it from one company. At the last minute, people told us, don't buy from that company because their after-sales service is terrible. They're very good on the front end, but when you have problems, which you will have with $150,000 worth of computer equipment, their service is very slow. You wait forever. But what should we do? Well, buy from this other company because their after-sales service is great. So we bought from the other company. Well, every problem that we had, within 2 hours, they had one of their top people there. If we had a problem with a piece of equipment, they didn't come in and tinker with it. They came in and replaced it completely with a brand new piece of equipment, upgraded to compensate us for our inconvenience. By the time we'd finished dealing with these people, we tell everybody about them. And this company has grown to become one of the most successful and profitable companies in the world because they're constantly looking for ways to amaze their customers. Remember, we've said this before. The easiest person to sell to is a satisfied customer. The easiest person to sell to, again, is someone who's happy with the way you treated them last time. So treat each customer as though he or she was extremely important. Imagine that this is $1 million customer. This is one of the most important customers, a very important person. Even if they're a small customer, surprise, surprise, sometimes small customers become very big customers. Sometimes small customers recommend other people to you who become very big customers. So treat everybody as though they're really important. Next, always look for ways to exceed expectations, to delight and amaze your customers. This should be something that everybody talks about and brainstorms all the time. What could we do extra? What else could we do? Treat your customers so well that they become advocates for your business. The most successful businesses in the world are businesses where their customers go and tell other people, you've got to come to my company. Just like if you see a good movie, you tell everybody you should go to this movie, or you go to a good restaurant, you tell people you should go to this restaurant. When you treat customers well, your customers will tell other people. They will refer you. What we have found is the customers that are the happiest with your service will be responsible for 80% of your repeat sales and 85% of your referrals. So it's really important that you take care of your customer base so that you can grow it and grow it and grow it. Finally, determine to serve your customers faster than anyone else. You see, you could be asking, well, how do I supply all this wonderful customer service? Well, to understand that your best customers are busy and impatient. So quick responses delight and amaze your customers. Develop a system that is so good that you get back to your customers very quickly whenever they have a question or a problem. Because the faster you satisfy your customers, the more loyal they will become. Today, people have a need for speed, and they equate speed with value. And if you satisfy your customers faster than anyone else, and in a pleasant and positive way, that alone will set you apart from your competition. The highest form of customer service is when you and your staff love your customers. So here's a question for you. What would you do differently in your business if you truly loved your customers? How would you treat your customers if you loved them? How would you change your product or service offerings if your staff truly loved your customers? Excellent customer service is the key to developing and maintaining a meaningful competitive advantage. In fact, in a commodity market where lots of people sell your same product or service, customer service becomes your competitive advantage. Customer service becomes the reason why people buy from you rather than from someone else. The quality of the relationships that you form with your customers determines your present and your future. Now, the very best and most profitable companies take care of their customers better than anyone else. And the best way to build and maintain customer loyalty is to continually seek for better, faster, cheaper ways to service and satisfy your customers. The best way to succeed in business is to design the ultimate customer experience and make sure that every customer who deals with you gets that experience every single time. The only constant in our world today is change, and you have to be willing to test your assumptions all the time. One of the exercises that we teach is, imagine that your building burned to the ground and you had to start over from the beginning. What things would you do more of or less of? What things would you start up again or not start up? But especially with regard to the way that you distribute your product. Is your current method of distribution the very best for your product or service with what you know today and with the way the world is changing? You know, selecting your method of sale or your channel of distribution can be one of the most important decisions you make in building your business. And you always have to be willing to be open to the possibility that what you are doing right now is not the very best that you could do. Successful entrepreneurs are constantly looking for different, faster, and more convenient ways to make their products and services available to a larger market. So, when it comes to distributing your product, remember this: distribution channels are often more important than the product or service itself. And why is that? Well, distribution channels exist. Products and services come and go. For example, a supermarket is a distribution channel. A catalog, direct mail retailer is a distribution channel. The internet is a distribution channel. These channels exist. The products and services that are sold through them may come and go, but distribution channels are often more important. Here's another part, is that you may have an excellent product or service for which there is no distribution channel. You just simply cannot get it to customers in a cost-effective way. So distribution channels are critical, and most people kind of take them for granted, but you mustn't do that. Now, an efficient channel of distribution can give you an advantage over your competition. Give me some examples. Walmart has become the most successful retailer in the world. And if you ask anybody about Walmart, they say why? It's because their methods of distribution are so sophisticated that they control the manufacture of the product in the factory in China all the way through to the cash register and the ultimate sale in a store anywhere in the world. They are on computers so that every single sale is registered as soon as it goes through the cash register. The sale record goes to the manufacturer, it goes to the head office, so that at every single part distribution chain, they never have an excess of product. And very seldom do they have a shortage because they're so sophisticated in distribution. And it's made them the most successful company in the world. Another example is Amway. Amway, or Quickstar, has become the largest network marketing company in the world because they've set up the most sophisticated distribution system worldwide. Do you know that if you buy Amway products in Russia or China, they're actually made to very high standards of quality right there, distributed to their independent business owners, distributed to customers all over the world because of their distribution business. And another example is giant oil companies. Giant oil companies control the oil from the time it comes out of the ground, through the pipelines, onto the oil tankers, across the oceans to the refineries, from the refineries to the gas station, and all the way to your car. And they control the entire distribution channel, which makes them some of the most successful and profitable companies in the world. Your ability to create a fully integrated distribution channel or network can be essential to your business. So continually look at all the different ways that you could sell more of your products to more customers. First of all, analyze all the different ways that your competitors sell. One of the most important things in business life is always admire your successful competitors. If they are selling well somewhere, if they're using a particular distribution channel, look at that and see if you can't use the same thing or something similar. Analyze the different ways that your non-competitors sell, both nationally and internationally. Sometimes you can find a way where someone is selling a similar product to yours successfully, and you can piggyback or you can adapt to that distribution channel and double the ability to reach your customers. Especially read every business magazine and article and book on different methods of distribution. When I first started studying this subject, by the way, I never even thought about it. I thought, well, we do real estate development, and so you run ads in the newspaper for people who are interested in purchasing homes. I didn't realize that you could sell through realtors, you could sell through direct mail, you could sell through the internet, you could sell through telephone sales, you could sell through leaflets that appeared in supermarkets. There's so many different ways that you could sell something as simple as a real estate product. So keep studying the whole subject of distribution, because one good idea can transform your business. Now, look for every possible way to use existing distribution channels to sell more of your product or service. For example, you may be able to create a new product or service for an existing distribution channel. Let's say you're currently selling through retail. Well, you could create a new product or service that could also be sold at retail. Let's say you sell through catalogs. You could create a new product or service that could be advertised in your catalog. Let's say you sell directly. You have people call on people, or people come into your store. What other products could you develop that could be sold to similar customers through your existing distribution channel? Now, you may be able to create a new distribution channel for an existing product or service. For example, let us say you sell books in a bookstore. You may sell them by direct mail. You may sell them by telephone. You may sell them through department stores or through grocery stores. You may sell them by the internet. There's a whole bunch of different distribution channels you might be able to develop for an existing product or service. You might be able to sell more of your current product or service through a distribution channel that already exists. So you look for distribution channels which are sort of like production lines, and you throw your product into the production line and it goes to the customer. So look at distribution channels that exist that would be ideal for what you already sell. I'll give you an example. Many companies find that they sell enormous amounts of their product by selling them at gas stations, or by selling them at fast food outlets, or by selling them at convenience stores. They just advertise them or make them available there, and they find that that is a perfect distribution channel that they hadn't even thought about. You may be able to create a new product or service to sell through a new distribution channel. This is very often where major breakthroughs take place, is you say, if we were going to use direct mail, what would be a good product to sell through direct mail? Many people, by the way, will set up a mail order business, and they'll say, all right, I know I can identify publications or prospective customers. What would be a good customer or a good product or service to offer to those people? And so they take a new product or service and offer it to a new customer through a new distribution channel. Many companies, as you know, have used the internet for all of the above. Amazon was started with the idea of making books available over the internet. Google, information available over the internet. eBay, auctions over the internet. In my own business, we have found that almost everything that we were able to do by direct mail, direct selling, personal contact, telephones, can all be done on the internet quickly, more efficiently, and at lower cost. So the internet is a powerful distribution channel that you can use. You must continually seek new ways to sell and deliver your existing products and services. Remember, the average company uses only one or two ways of distribution, and there's at least 24 different ways to distribute your product. So keep asking this question. What other ways could you sell this product? What other ways that you're not using at all today? And of course, the key is to test on a small scale. For example, some of the business services that we offer, we have thought of selling through accounting firms. Why? It's because the average accounting firm has between 1,200 and 2,000 small businesses as clients. What does an accounting firm want to accomplish? They want their clients to stay in business and to be successful and to grow, because that increases the business for the accounting firm. What's the best way to do that? The best way to do that is to give those companies advice and instructions on how to grow their businesses more successfully. So the accounting firm has a vested interest in telling their clients about products that we sell. Completely different distribution channel that approaches a completely different customer with an existing product. What kind of creative ways could you find to distribute your products. Another question you have to ask is, what additional customers are there for your product? Remember, of all the customers out there, less than 5%, maybe 1%, have ever heard of you, have ever bought from you, or even aware that you are in existence. So that 95, 99% of the market is your potential. So how could you find additional customers for what you're selling? Good question. How could you modify your existing products so that they could be cheaper or better, sometimes so that they could contain more or contain less? Sometimes companies will actually combine several products into a package. Sometimes companies will actually break up a package into several individual products. Sometimes they will repackage it or reprice it. Sometimes they'll put something in or take something out. How could you modify your existing products so that you could sell them through an existing or a new distribution channel, or you could reach different customers with them through an existing or a new distribution channel? Great area for creativity. Here's a question: what non-customers could you develop? In other words, who are the people who could benefit from your product or service who don't use it at all? And how could you develop them as customers? What would you have to do to make your products or services available, to market to them, to convince them that they should use your products or services in the first place? And finally, what new products could you develop for your existing customers? Remember, 20% of your products and services probably are going to become obsolete each year. You're going to have to either introduce new products or services or dramatically upgrade your existing products or services. Perfect example. Look at Microsoft. Microsoft never has less than 100 projects on the drawing boards for new products to sell to people who are already using Microsoft software. What new products could you develop for your existing customers to satisfy needs that are not yet being satisfied? You need to look for a distribution channel that your customers are already using to buy other products and services. One of the things that we do in our business, and we have over 600 companies which we call affiliates. And affiliates are companies that are already selling to our customers their products and services through their channels. And what we do is we offer our products and services to their customers through their channels. And simultaneously, if they have products or services that are ideal for our customers, we offer their products and services through our channels. So the starting point, of course, is for you to identify your ideal customer for a product or service. Determine what other products or services that your ideal customers are already buying that you can piggyback on. And then approach other companies that already have distribution channels to your ideal customers. This way, joint venture marketing, affiliate marketing, selling with other people who are already selling to your ideal customers is one of the most powerful ways to open up your market dramatically and increase your sales and revenues. Another thing you can do is look for ways to simplify and speed up the process of getting your product or service directly to your customer. We've said before that people have a need for speed. So the faster that you can serve your customers, the more attractive your product or service becomes. And the way you do it is this, is you examine every stage and every step of the process from the time the order is placed all the way through to delivery. Recognize that over time, inefficiencies will creep into the delivery process. So what you have to do is you have to stand back and say, how could we streamline this process so we can satisfy customers faster? You look for ways with this list of steps, you look for ways to eliminate steps in the distribution process to make it simpler so that you can get the product to the customer faster. Give you a beautiful example. My wife and I use a variety of products from multi-level marketing companies. It used to be that if you placed the order, you would call the local distributor. The distributor would then place the order with the manufacturer. The manufacturer would then send out the order to the distributor who would deliver it to you, and then you would pay for it. Today, they've used the internet to simplify it. Today, you can go straight to the manufacturer with the distributor number, order the product, and it comes to your house in 3 days. It used to be that you'd have to go to a bookstore to buy a book. Today, you can go onto Amazon and you can find the book in a few seconds, click on it, one click, and the book will be at your door within 72 hours. These ways have dramatically increased the amount of business that these companies can do by making it much, much faster by eliminating steps in the distribution process. You should look for ways to combine different steps together so that the different steps can all take place at once, rather than having a series of separate steps. You should look for entirely new ways to get your product to your customers. And this is limited primarily by your own imagination. Now, imagine that you were starting your business over again today. What would you do differently? Would you sell your products at retail or wholesale? Would you set up your own direct sales force? Would you look for ways to sell your product nationally or internationally? If you're starting your business over again today and you had not yet begun distributing your products, what would you do differently? Keep asking, what are the best ways to make more of my products and services available to more of my prospective customers in a cost-effective way? Now, your choice of a method of sale and a channel of distribution can be one of the most important decisions you ever make. One small change in your product or service that makes it fit into an existing distribution channel can rapidly increase your sales and profitability. Remember that one of the keys to the future is innovation, constantly looking for newer, faster, better, cheaper, easier ways to get your product or service to more customers. Let's talk now about joint ventures and strategic alliances. You know, you've heard about using other people's money to build your business. Well, perhaps the fastest and least expensive way for you to increase your sales and profitability is for you to sell to other people's customers, OPC. The most important word in sales, in both business and personal life, is credibility. Your credibility determines whether people believe you, whether they like you, whether they trust you, recommend you, or whether they buy from you. So the more believable and trustworthy people perceive you to be, the faster they'll buy from you and the less price resistance they'll have. When you enter into joint ventures to sell to other people's customers, you actually piggyback on the reputation and credibility of your joint venture partners, the credibility they've already developed. Most of the sale is already made because of the people you're working with. Now, in the market today, each customer you deal with also purchases many other products and services from many other companies. Your goal is to identify which companies in your market are already selling to your potential customers and which products and services other companies sell to your existing customers. The goal of your business is to create and keep a customer. This is the same for every business. Everybody wants to increase sales and become more profitable. As we say, everybody wants to sell more stuff. And in the history of sales, there's only 3 ways to increase your sales. First of all, you can attract more individual customers. You can advertise and promote and discount and give bonuses to increase the number of customers who buy. Second of all, you can sell more to each customer. For example, you could sell a higher priced product rather than a lower priced product. Or you can upsell your customer into a different but more expensive product or service when he or she comes in to buy something else. Or you could cross-sell. This is another way to increase the size of each sale. You can cross-sell and sell something else that goes along with your main product to boost the overall size of the purchase. For example, it's quite common in menswear. A person goes in to buy a suit, and by the time they've finished, they've bought 2 or 3 shirts, they bought 2 or 3 ties, they bought a belt, socks, and everything else, and they dramatically increase the size of the sale. When you buy a car, for example, the price of the car is pretty fixed because of competition, but then what they do is they add in all the other things. The third way that you can increase sales is you can get your customer to buy more often, greater frequency. And this is really important. Let me give you an example. A friend of mine owns a restaurant, and they did a survey and they found that their average customer was coming in about once every 2 months. So instead of spending more money advertising in the marketplace, what they did is they started to focus on giving superb customer service and following up every visit with an email message saying, "Thank you for coming in." You know what happened? Over the course of 6 to 12 months, they got each customer to start coming back once a month rather than once every 2 months, and they doubled the size of their business. Then they got each customer to come back every 3 weeks rather than every 4 weeks, and then every 2 weeks rather than every 3 weeks, and they quadrupled their business in less than a year. The restaurant is always full because they focused on getting their customers to buy more often, getting their customers to buy more frequently. How could you do this in your business? Now, all business owners should be focusing on improving in these 3 areas continually. Get them to more customers, bigger size customers, and customers buying more frequently. So analyze your situation. First of all, what are your best-selling products or services today? What are the ones that your customers like the most, compliment you the most on, are the happiest with, complain the least? What are your best-selling products or services? Second question is what are your most profitable products and services, which may or may not be your best-selling ones, but they're the ones where you make the most profit per sale. And this is important because every single company has 1 or 2 products that are more profitable than anything else. Sometimes the key to business success is to increase the sales and frequency of sales of your most profitable products. Then ask yourself, who are your best customers? The ones who buy the most and who are the least price sensitive. Who are the customers that appreciate you the most? The ones that just seem to walk in and buy every single time. If you could have customers like that all day long, I mean, you'd be rich, all right? Once you have the answers to these questions, you can then analyze your potential joint venture or strategic alliance partners. Ask yourself, what other products do my customers buy on a regular basis? You know, they're buying lots and lots of other stuff. If they go to one nice restaurant, they go to other restaurants. If they go on one vacation, they go to other vacations. If they buy one type of nice clothes, they buy other nice clothes. So what other products do your customers buy on a regular basis? Then ask what other companies sell these products or services. These are companies that are selling non-competing products or services. These are products that are different from yours, that are going to be bought anyway. What are the other companies that are selling to your customers? What other companies do your best customers also patronize? Sometimes they'll tell you, I just bought from here or I went to there or something else. For example, let's say you sell expensive furniture and most of your customers drive expensive cars. Then an ideal joint venture partner might be a company that sells expensive cars. They can recommend you to their buyers, and you, in exchange, in reciprocation, you can recommend your customers to them. A perfect alliance. Ask yourself, what other products or services do people usually buy prior to buying your product or service? For example, if you sell home exercise equipment, an ideal customer for you might be someone who has just bought a newer or larger home, making room for a home gym. And a joint alliance partner may be somebody who sells expensive homes, who can let you know that somebody just bought an expensive home, and you call on them with an idea for setting up a home gym with them. Very popular today. Ask yourself, what other products or services do people usually buy after they have bought your product or service? For example, if you sell homes or lease offices, immediately after buying or leasing from you, customers have needs for furniture, technology, carpentry, renovation services, and many others. Let me give you an example. I have a friend who is a real estate agent. She's extremely successful. She makes several $100,000s a year. And what she did from the very beginning is she realized that when she sold a house, people needed painting, landscaping, renovations. They needed furniture, appliances, internal and external fixtures, and so on. So she set up a series of reciprocal relationships with other people who simply give her a referral fee, say 10%. And she introduces them as companies that they can quite comfortably, safely deal with. She makes almost as much from the reciprocal relationships, from the strategic alliances, as she makes from real estate. And those people are always sending her people who want to buy or sell houses. Works like a darn. Now, here's another question. What sort of events trigger people to buy your product or service? For example, when people get married or have their first child, they become potential customers for a variety of products and services. For example, when a person gets married and or has children, the first thing they think about is insurance. And so life insurance is a wonderful product to offer those people either before or after or when the event is triggered. How could you do a joint alliance with people who buy other products as a result of lifestyle changes. Ask yourself, what other companies do your ideal prospects buy from for any reason? And just think about it. Example, people who book vacations or cruises immediately become prospects for luggage, cameras, sportswear, and so on. If you had a joint alliance with a travel agent and you sold luggage, cameras, or sportswear, you could offer them a bonus. Say, send people to us and we will give them a discount on everything that they buy if they come from you. Then you can recommend people who buy these things from you to this travel agent as the perfect place to go if you want to organize a tour or travel. It's a perfect one hand washing the other reciprocal alliance. And the number of these alliances that you can form are limited only by your own imagination. So here's what you do. It's an exercise. Make a list of at least 10 companies that are already selling to the same type of customer who can buy from you. The best marketing and sales strategy is not the number of customers you get, but the depth of wallet. In other words, if a customer is going to spend $1, they can spend $10. Rather than trying to get new customers, especially drawing them away from competition, which is very hard, what you do is you want to get more of their spending to you and to your joint venture partners. In fact, it's much easier by a factor of 10 times to sell to a satisfied customer or the satisfied customers of someone else than for you to go out and advertise and promote and find a brand new customer by yourself. Joint alliances are extraordinarily profitable if you do them properly. So make a list of all the businesses that sell products or services to your customers before they buy, when they buy, and after they buy. Simple exercise, read through a newspaper and just write down the company names, numbers, and products that your ideal customer, the customer who buys from you, is already buying somewhere, okay? Now, how do you form a strategic alliance? Well, all business people are looking for ways to increase their sales, revenues, and profits. This is standard. Business people get up and all day long they think about how can I get more business? But business people have certain fears that you must deal with if you're going to propose a strategic alliance. First of all, they're afraid that you will take advantage of them. They're afraid that you will use them and leave them worse off than they were before they entered into an alliance with you. Remember, business people have been burnt so many times that they're like long-tailed cats in a room full of rocking chairs. They're very jumpy. Sometimes they say, I'm not interested, I have no interest. Well, this is a normal and natural initial reaction. They're also afraid that you will hustle and manipulate them into a deal that turns out poorly for them. Let me give you an example. We do strategic alliances all the time. We have, over the years, done as many as 600 alliances where we share our customers with other companies and they share their customers with us. And as a result, we get people coming to hustle us all the time. They have a great idea. They say, my idea, your money, or my idea, your customers. If I make a great profit, I will give you a penny. And so we are always really alert. When somebody calls us up with an idea, all of our sensors go up immediately. And this is quite normal when you propose a strategic alliance to another company. They've had approaches like this before. They're also afraid that you will offend their existing customers, that you'll be too aggressive, or you'll be pushy, or you'll be rude, and you'll cost them their goodwill and repeat business. We've had it happen where we will recommend one of our alliance partners to one of our customers, and the customer will come back and say, why did you send that person to me? Why would you do that? Because he or she was so rude, or their service or their product was so bad, and woo, we were really burnt because we are in the danger of losing our own customer. So people are thinking about this when you approach them for a strategic alliance. They're also afraid that you will be dishonest with them or their customers. You'll not tell the truth. You'll not fulfill your responsibilities. You'll not deliver what you say. So you have to realize these fears exist, and you have to design your proposal, your joint venture strategic alliance proposal, in such a way that you allay these fears. Your first goal in approaching a joint venture partner is to put these fears to rest. So when you begin seeking a joint venture alliance, and you do this one at a time, like a rifle shot, your primary goal should be to increase the profitability of your partner. Now, this is an important point. You know the golden rule, do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. The big mistake that people make is they think, me, me, me. How can I milk an alliance and make more money for myself? But that's not the way you do it. You look for somebody and say, how could I help another company make more money from the products and services that I sell. And you always start off talking about the profitability of your partner before you think about the profitability of yourself. When you do this, by the way, doors will open for you. People will listen to you. People will be more receptive to you. Very important. So approach a smaller company at first, if you haven't done this before, where you can deal directly with the decision maker. Now, this is important. When I work in a strategic alliance, I insist upon speaking to the president. I want to speak to the owner. I want to speak to the one person who makes the decision. Because if you start to work with lower level staff, you start to work with managers or someone else, it never gets approved. There's something perverse in business is that whatever level you start at, that's as high as you go. So if you're going to do a joint venture alliance, start with a small company. Start with a company where you can deal with the owner and you can work a deal with him or her directly, and then you can make it successful. After that, you can get to the owners of larger companies. Explain that you have an idea to increase their sales, their profitability, and their customer loyalty. You see, as a business person, this is what you're interested in all the time. You want to increase your sales, you want to increase your profits, and you want your customers to be more loyal and buy more often. Everybody you speak to wants the same thing. Golden rule. Just go to them and talk to them about how you can help them do this with your idea. They will be all ears. Offer to pay the prospective partner a royalty on each sale, a commission, a percentage, or a large share of any profits you realize if they'll open doors for you to their customers. I'll give you an example. We have joint venture alliances, strategic alliances for information products on our internet. Well, an information product usually has a low cost of production and reproduction. So what we do is we offer to share 50% of the profits for anything that is sold on our site. If we sell on their site, we give them 50% of the profits. If they sell on our site to our customers, we give them 50% of the profits. And it's free money. You're getting half the profits, but you're also getting business that you would not have gotten otherwise. So don't be stingy and don't be cheap. You're not only getting sales, but you're getting new customers to whom you can make additional sales in the future. There are 4 ways that joint venture alliances can help you. First of all, they can recommend your products or services directly and indirectly. They can say, you should go and buy from him or her. Or second, they can give you a testimonial, a written testimonial telling other people how good you are, and you could show this to your customers and they say, oh, if they say that, I've dealt with them. If they say you're good, then you have a high level of credibility. Or they can give you their customers' phone lists and telephone numbers and email addresses so that you can approach them as an alliance partner, a friend, a strategic joint venture with these people. And they say, oh, well, if you're dealing with them and I deal with them, then you must be okay. And finally, the 4th way is they can work actively with you to call on their existing customers to help sell your products. In one joint venture I did, the company owner liked my product or service so much and the deal was so good that he actually set up 2 or 3 days of appointments, and he had a chauffeured car, and we went from customer to customer to customer that he had developed over the years, and he took me in and introduced me and told them, buy from him. His product or service is good. It changed my entire life. So if the deal is good enough, your joint venture partner will be aggressive about helping you to sell more of your products to their customers. When you enter into a joint alliance, offer to accept 100% responsibility for all the work and expenses required to market and sell to their customers. Remember, people are busy. Don't go to them with a problem which requires them to spend a lot of time and money. Make it hands-free and risk-free to them. Say, all I need you to do is open the door, point me in the direction of your customers, point them in the direction of me, and I'll take care of everything. If your customer is a little bit concerned, suggest a pilot project. Many people say, I don't want you to talk to all of my customers. Well, let's talk to 10 of your customers or 100 of your customers, and let's see what kind of response we get. Let's see how it works out economically. If it does, we'll do more of it. If it doesn't, then we don't. Because remember, there's no guarantee that even the best potential alliance will succeed. Everything is speculative. You just have to give it a shot. But remember what Wayne Gretzky said, you miss every shot you don't take. So suggest it, give it a shot, throw your whole heart into it. If it works well, it could transform your life. If it doesn't, you'll learn valuable things that will help you in the future. If possible, offer to reciprocate 100% by opening the doors to your customers for them. In other words, they give you a customer, you give them a customer. Be prepared to go the extra mile at the beginning, especially. Because of natural skepticism, you must be willing to work extra hard to get the partnership relationship up and working. Remember, everything at the beginning takes tremendous work and concentration to get all the bugs out of it, so don't expect everything to work smoothly. The good news is that once you've demonstrated that you can generate sales and profits in a strategic marketing alliance with one company, you can then go to a variety of other potential joint venture partners. And you can say, look, it worked. The most important question a potential partner has is, will it work? Will it actually generate additional sales and profitability in a positive way for me? Will I be happy afterwards that I entered into this alliance with you? Once you've proven that it works, you can create multiple partnerships for the rest of your business career, only limited by your imagination. Now, what is your most valuable asset in business? According to the Harvard Business School, your most valuable business asset is your reputation. This is defined as how you are known to your customers, how they talk about you, how they think about you in the marketplace, how they describe you to other people is the most valuable asset you have. Often this reputation is called goodwill, and it can be even more valuable in the sale of a business than all the physical assets added together. I saw a company that was sold recently for $10 million. It had $1 million worth of physical assets, equipment, furniture, manufacturing, offices, and everything else, and it had $9 million worth of goodwill. The $9 million was for the reputation. The buyer was willing to pay $9 million just to get the name of that company because that company was so respected in the marketplace, and it was a good deal. Now, customer satisfaction is the best measure of the success of your business. Everything you do should be aimed at achieving this goal of customer satisfaction. Customer satisfaction is measured in that people say they like you, they respect you, and they will buy from you again. In joint venture marketing, your reputation for quality products and services and for excellent care and service to your customers will cause other companies to want to partner with you. This is the best win-win arrangement of all. Remember, the number of joint ventures that are possible for you are limited only by your imagination. So go out there and form one. Your brand or your reputation is one of the most important factors in your life and determines almost everything that happens to you. Your brand determines how people respond to you, whether they listen to you or not, whether they buy from you or not, how much they buy, and many other factors. Your brand image is so important that it cannot be left to chance. You should think through carefully the way you would like people to think and talk about you, and then make sure that everything you do is consistent with creating that impression. This is what all top businesses do. Now, the definition of a brand is simple. A brand summarizes a value or set of values that you and your product represents. The brand makes your product more valuable in the perception of other people or not. The two parts of a brand are very simple. They are the promises you make to get the business and the promises you keep after you get the business. As an individual, by the way, they're the promises that you make to get the job or something else, and the promises you keep afterwards. So it's two critical factors. A brand represents a promise. Now, the brand suggests that if you buy a particular product or service, you will receive a specific value in return. The central part of your brand, perhaps the most important of all, is your reputation. Your reputation is defined as how you are known to your customers. Personally, it's how you are known to the other people in your life, and it is your most valuable personal and business asset. In determining your brand, you must define the qualities, values, virtues, and attributes for which you wish to be known, for which you want other people to think about you as. So what are the words that you would like people to use when they think about you, when they talk about you, and especially when they describe you to other people? What kind of a brand image would you like to leave in people's minds with everything that you do? Let's talk about the keys to branding. Your brand will be largely determined by how consistently you fulfill the promises that you made to get the customer to buy in the first place. Your quality rating, by the way, is estimated as the percentage of times that your product or service does what you say it will do and continues to do it. For example, your quality rating, if your product works 100% of the time, is 100%. If it works 90% of the time, it's 90%. And of course, your goal is to get it to 100%. Your brand as a person, by the way, is determined by how consistently you deliver on your promises as an individual. Your brand as a person is determined by how consistently you perform the tasks that you have said that you will perform. You begin to build your own personal and business brand by determining your values. So keep asking the question, what do you stand for and believe in your personal and business life? What are your most important values? Then you have to ask yourself, what is your area of excellence? What is your competitive advantage? What is it that you do better or can do better than anybody else? How can your brand or the value that you offer make a difference in the lives of your customers? Do you remember during the dot-com boom when people were spending $250,000 for a 30-second advertisement in the Super Bowl in an attempt for instant brand building? Well, it was impossible, and all those companies went broke. And the reason is because a brand represents a value that is built up over time. It's not something that can be done instantaneously with an advertisement. So project 5 years into the future and ask, if my reputation was perfect in every way 5 years from now, how would people talk about me? What would they say about me if I was at the top of my field, if I had the best reputation in the business? Select the keywords that you would like people to use whenever they think or talk about you or your company to other people. The importance of personal image in branding cannot be underestimated. A positive personal brand takes away the perception of risk in dealing with you. The number one reason that people don't buy is because they're afraid of making a mistake, paying too much, getting the wrong product or service, taking a risk. The more positive your personal brand is when you deal with your customers, the lower is the perception of risk and the greater is the confidence that people have in buying from you. Now, a positive personal brand suggests that when someone purchases a product or service from you, the product or service will perform as you promised, and that you will back it up 100%. There are three elements of personal image that affect your brand. The first is your appearance. The clothes you wear, your grooming, and your attitude throughout the day have an enormous emotional impact on how other people see you, think about you, and relate to you. The rule is, and I learned this as a young salesman, dress for success. Read a book, take a course, or even hire an image consultant to give you feedback on the way you come across to others. Remember, 95% of the first impact you make on other people will be determined by your clothes and your grooming, because that's what they see more than anything else. Look around you at the most successful people in your field and pattern your grooming and appearance after them. The second part of your personal brand is your behavior. This is the way that you behave day by day and minute by minute. It's a major factor in determining your brand image. So ask yourself this question. If I was the very best in my field, what kind of behaviors would I demonstrate every single day? Imagine that everyone is watching you and making notes. Imagine that you're a role model, and carry yourself every day the way you would want people to think about you when you're not there. Now, the third part of your personal branding is really important. It's the quality of your work. Nothing can replace the quality of the work that you do in building your brand image in the minds of other people. The quality of your work will determine the true value of yourself as a person to other people, just as the quality of the work your company does determines the brand of your products and services. There is nothing that speaks so loudly as quality work performed consistently over and over again. So how do you conduct a branding analysis to figure out what your brand is today? Well, it's pretty simple. You can tell what your brand is today by listening to what people say about you in 3 different areas. First of all, how are you introduced to others? When somebody says, "Here is my friend, he or she is," what's the first thing that people say? What do people say about you when they introduce you to a new person? That will tell you how you are currently branded in their minds. What do people say about you when you're not there? What words do people use when they think about you and talk about you to others? And finally, how do people describe you to others in a few words? Imagine someone you know trying to describe you in 1 or 2 words or attributes to someone who doesn't know you. What words would they use? As soon as you know the answers to this, you now know how you are perceived in your world today. The question is, are these words consistent with the brand or the perception that you want to have in the future? Well, there are 7 laws of branding, 7 laws to build and maintain a positive personal or corporate brand. Law number 1 is the law of specialization. You must select a specific product, service, industry, or skill in which you can excel. So when people think of you, they think of that area of specialization and you being one of the best in that area. The second law of branding is the law of leadership. Set a goal to be acknowledged as one of the most expert, respected, or skilled in your field. Be the very best at what you do and continually get better. There's nothing more important than for people to think of you as being the best in your area of specialization. The third law of branding is the law of personality. The most important part of personal branding is that you are perceived by others as a nice person. You are pleasant, you're positive, you're cheerful, you treat everyone well, no matter what the circumstances. This is the part of your personality that sticks in people's minds more than anything else. What you want is for people to describe you as a nice person. One of the greatest compliments I get in my business, and we've given this a lot of thought, is everybody says what a pleasure it is to deal with my staff. How pleasant they are, how polite, how friendly, how warm, how helpful. And I've heard that consistently for 20 years because that's how we hire, that's how we train, that's how we reward. We're very clear about the importance of how people feel when they deal with us. And it's important to you and your future as well. The fourth law of branding is called the law of distinctiveness. You should look for ways to express your personal brand in a unique way. Do things that other people don't do. Define something that is special about you and then emphasize it in your interactions with other people. I have people who send flowers as gifts, people who send funny cards when they have interacted with someone. I have people who send telephone messages. They're always thinking about how they can create a distinctive brand so that when people see it or see them, they think of the two together. The sixth law of branding is called the law of visibility. And this is important, because you can't build a brand sitting at home. Your personal brand must be seen repeatedly and consistently. You must be busy and active. You must join your business associations and attend meetings. You must introduce yourself and network and hand out business cards. I've met people who have started with nothing in a new town, and within a year or two, everybody knows them and respects them and is open to doing business with them because they constantly get out and get among the others. One gentleman I knew who was very successful, he said, never turn down an opportunity to attend a function. Go to every single function that you possibly can and just meet people. Give them your business card. Ask them questions. Tell them what you do. Because your success in life is going to be determined by the number of people you know and the number of people who know you in a positive way. The more you are seen in a positive way, the more powerful will be your personal brand. Now, the sixth law of branding is called the law of consistency. And this is terribly important in business and personal life. Your behavior, your performance must be consistent, both publicly and privately. People should feel that there is complete alignment or congruence between the public person and the private person. In your business, people should feel that the quality of what they get from you is consistent and unvarying over time. Perfect example, McDonald's. McDonald's has 40,000 units worldwide, and everybody goes to McDonald's because they know that if they want to have a quick, inexpensive, reasonably good meal, the quality, service, delivery, and cleanliness will be consistent every single time. And it's made them one of the most successful companies in the world. The concept that Ray Kroc had was consistent delivery of fast food, and he changed the world. You need to deliver consistently on your promises as well, every single time. The seventh law of branding is called the law of persistence. Once you have decided to establish your personal brand in a particular way, you must not deviate from it. Stick with your personal branding efforts over and over again, sometimes for months and years, until it sets in the minds of other people. You can't change your brand every week or month like you change your clothes or brush your teeth. You have to decide upon one specific brand or way that you're going to be perceived, and then work on establishing that in other people's minds consistently over the years. Now, what are the benefits of a positive personal brand? Well, there's several. First of all, when you have a positive personal brand, people will buy from you more readily. Their perception of risk is lower. Their confidence in you is higher. As a matter of fact, if you have a positive personal brand, you can often sell on the first meeting because people will know you and have heard about you and be ready to buy. A second advantage is people will pay more for your products and services because of your brand. For example, people pay 20% more for Sony electronics. People pay much more for IBM products. People pay more for Mercedes-Benz or BMW. People will pay a premium for a brand that they respect, both personal and corporate. A third benefit is that people will accept your recommendations and suggestions more readily. When you have a positive personal brand, your level of credibility, your level of expertise is much higher, and they'll accept your recommendations much more quickly. Number 4 is people will buy from you again and again. If you deliver consistently on your promises, people will very comfortably buy from you, buy again. Number 5 is people will give you more referrals to others to whom you can sell more easily. When you have a positive personal brand, people will want their friends and associates to have the same experience with you that they have had. And a referral takes 1/15 of the energy to sell to as a cold call. All of the highest paid sales professionals, entrepreneurs, and business people have built a high positive brand, and as a result get tremendous resales and referrals from their customers. When you have a positive personal brand, people will open doors for you and create opportunities that would not be available to someone else. People like to help other people whom they perceive in a positive way. And the seventh advantage is that people will lend you money and give you credit more readily if you have a positive personal brand, which, as we say, is built up as a result of consistent performance over time. Now, here's the rule. Everything counts. Everything you do either helps or hurts. Everything either adds up or takes away from the quality of your personal brand. The brand is everything. Your personal brand and your corporate brand, similar to your reputation, are things that you build up over time through persistence and consistency. You must be patient and determined, knowing that your brand is building with every word you say and with everything you do. In the final analysis, excellent personal performance, quality work, the willingness and ability to deliver on your promises are the most important parts of your personal branding. The only question that people ask in dealing with other people is, does it work? Do I get the results that I expected? Is the performance consistent? In your business, the only question people have is, does it work? Will you do what you say you will do? Customers are concerned primarily by whether or not they can accept your promises. Can they believe you? Will you do what you say you will do? Will you do it consistently over and over again? The best brands in the world, personal and corporate, are based on performance. So you must make every effort to build a brand, a reputation in the minds and hearts of others, if it does not exist already, and it could be essential to your long-term success. And it's always based on performance. The Chinese military strategist Sun Tzu once said that the general who knows himself and knows his enemy will be victorious in 100 battles. What this means with regard to you and I is that when you know yourself and your business and you know the role of your business in society, you're going to be vastly more successful than if you don't. And as it happens, most people who start businesses back into them really don't understand the purpose of a business. The truth is that the purpose of a business in a free society like ours is to produce and distribute the goods and services necessary for the well-being of men and women of all levels and all occupations. In other words, the purpose of a business is to serve society and produce products and services that cannot be produced and served any other way. There's a direct relationship between the success of the business community and the society and the overall level of wealth, affluence, and opportunity, growth, and prosperity of that community. In other words, wherever the business community is successful, wherever large numbers of profits and lots of business activity, there's more hope, growth, and opportunity for everyone. And wherever the business society is repressed, as in some countries, everybody is impoverished except the few people at the top, and we know how they get their money. Every step toward the improvement of the business climate by organizing, especially reducing taxes and reducing regulations so that there is a large amount of encouragement for the starting and growing of businesses, creates greater opportunities, more jobs, higher levels of health and happiness for people within that society. Interesting point, by the way, whenever taxes go up in a society like the European societies, the level of new business formation goes down, profitability of business declines, unemployment goes up, welfare goes up. Everything gets worse as they raise taxes and regulations on the business community, which unfortunately is done by politicians who really have no understanding at all about business. They've never been in business, never worked for a business, never made a payroll, and so on. The truth is that businesses create and pay for all jobs. Businesses create and pay for all schools, all hospitals, all government services, and all products that people desire to consume to improve the quality of their lives. As it happens, governments produce nothing. Governments merely live off the wealth produced by the business community. They say, well, they live off income taxes. Well, the income taxes are paid by businesses to their people, etc. The purpose of a business is to create and maintain prosperity, growth, and opportunity for the greatest number of people. And this is perfectly selfish. The reason that a business owner like myself or yourself wants to create hope and growth and opportunity is because that means that your business is growing in profits and potential. So it's a very selfish and very healthy thing for society. Now, business is an art as well as a science, and it's a matter of practical experience, judgment, foresight, and luck, and we'll come back to these a little bit later. To be successful, both individuals and governments must recognize and support the basic purposes of businesses in society. They must encourage businesses to do more of this by making it easier, by reducing taxes and regulations, and basically just getting out of the way. Now, the purpose of a business is not to make a profit. The purpose of a business is to create and keep a customer. All profit and growth comes from creating and keeping customers in a cost-effective way. In other words, profit is the result of operating your business effectively by giving people what they want and need and are willing to pay for. The fact is, the wants and needs and desires of the customers determine and direct all business activities. There was a popular notion back in the 50s and 60s that suggested that businesses, because of their size or their advertising activity, could actually create demand for products and services, so therefore they were not really bound by the market. Well, that turned out to be totally false. Ford brought out the Edsel and nobody bought it. 1,000 companies a year bring out 1 million products that nobody buys. Customers are the ones that determine all business activities. Customer is everything. A business is nothing without a customer. Everything is the focus on the customers. Individuals and corporations that satisfy customers are the ones that grow and prosper. If a company is not growing and prospering, it is simply because it is not satisfying its customers in sufficient quantity in a cost-effective way that yields a profit. So customers are pretty simple. Customers always want the very most for the very least. They are selfish, demanding, ruthless, disloyal, and fickle. They will abandon someone that they have done business with for 20 years and walk across the street if somebody else offers them something a little bit better. That's the way you are as a customer. That's the way all customers are. Customers will abandon a supplier or vendor whenever they feel they can be served better elsewhere. Now, here's the rule. Customers are always right. They patronize those individuals and businesses that they think serve them best. The customer is always rational. The customer always makes a decision based on who can serve me the best. My friend Stu Leonard, who's built the Stu Leonard milk stores, started off with a little convenience store selling milk products. He eventually built it into a supermarket that is the largest and most prosperous single supermarket in the world. They only carry 700 products, but they sell more of those individual products than any other supermarket or store on earth. And he said the turning point in his life was when he realized that the customer is always right. So right out in front of the Stu Leonard store, there's a huge rock with his 2 rules for business success. It says, rule number 1, the customer is always right. Rule number 2, when in doubt, refer back to rule number 1. It's made him one of the most successful people in America, one of the most prosperous businesses in history. Now, in a dynamic market, there are always opportunities for those who can find better, faster, cheaper ways to serve customers with what they want. That's it. If you're not getting the amount of business that you want, then what you have to do is find a way to serve your customers better. There are always business opportunities available for those who are willing to do one of 3 things. Number 1, lower demands. In other words, you'll always find an opportunity if you're willing to charge less, either for your labor or for the goods and services that you're selling. Number 2 way that you can create business opportunities is to restructure your offerings. In other words, if you're looking for a job and people won't hire you doing what you're doing, you can either lower your rate or you can offer to do something different. The third part is to change your customers or redirect your marketing efforts. Many companies find that the customers that they're working with in this particular market will never make them successful, so they change their customers and they redirect their marketing efforts and they find and create new customers, and then they offer them new and better products and services and so on. So those are the big 3. You can lower your prices, and you can offer something different, or you can change your customers. Now, here's the rule with regard to the purpose of a business. It is not what producers produce, but what customers prefer that determines economic activity and economic rewards. In other words, companies don't determine their own economic rewards, only the customer does. The fact is that customers pay all wages, not corporations. People say, well, the company should pay more. No, it's the customers of the company in buying the products or services that determine how much people earn within a company. And here's a discovery. Everyone has at least one customer, inside or outside the business. Sometimes I will start off a talk, and I remember doing this with a room full of accountants once. I said, how many people here are in customer service? Not a single hand went up. So I said, oh, really? How many people here are really in customer service? And suddenly they all realized that every one of them is dependent upon satisfying their customers. And by the way, the customers that you have are, first of all, the customer in the marketplace, of course, number 1. But also your boss is your customer. Your coworkers whose cooperation you require are your customers. The people below you are your customers. Sometimes your vendors and suppliers and your bankers on the outside are your customers. Your customers are the people you have to cater to. The customers are the people that you depend on and who depend on you for their success. Who are your customers? Because all success in business comes from satisfying your key customers. Now, the key to business success has always been the same. It is to find a need and fill it. Here's a basic rule in terms of business, is you don't try to create a need unless you have an enormous amount of money for research and development, for innovation and so on. What you do is you try to find a need that already exists and fill it in a different and better way. Find a need, find an itch that already needs scratching. Find a benefit that people want. Find a pain that you can take away. Find a problem you can solve, but don't try to create a new one. You can have everything you want in life if you just help enough other people get what they want. There's an old saying, if you want to dine with the classes, you have to serve to the masses. What's the most successful financial dynasty in America today? It's the Walmart dynasty. Who is the customer of Walmart? It's people who live from paycheck to paycheck. In other words, they focus on helping enough other people get what they want, and everything else flows from that. Now, you'll always be rewarded in direct proportion to the value of your services to others, as they estimate it. Remember, people have a choice of using your services or not. If they use your services and they pay you well for it, it's because they value your services. So therefore, your wages, your income, your earnings are always determined by how well you serve others. If you want to earn more, you have to concentrate on increasing the value of your service to other people. Here's a great question. And the great question is something you ask every day, either as a business owner or as someone who works for a business. What can I do to increase the value of my service to my customers today? What can I do to increase the value of my services to my customers today? And whatever you're doing now that got you here will not be enough to get you to where you need to go in the future. You have to do something more and better. The focus on outward contribution is the hallmark of effective men and women. The focus on outward contribution, on contributing to improving the lives and works of other people who depend on you, inside and outside the business, is the hallmark of effectiveness for all men and women who do well in business. Your success in business will always be determined by three things. Your success in the world of work will be determined by three things. It will first of all be determined by what you do. It doesn't mean that a person who digs a ditch is better than a neurosurgeon, generally speaking, but what they do is very different. Your success will be determined by the demand for your product or service. How many people want to hire you? In the final analysis, by the way, all of business life is an auction. People go into the auction and they bid. If you do what you do really well and people really want it, they will bid up the price of your services. If they're not bidding up the price of your services, or even worse, forcing you to lower your prices, they're telling you something. The third determinant of your success in business will be the difficulty of replacing you with someone else. Again, using the example of a laborer versus a doctor. It's not that they may have different values as people, but it's very easy to replace a laborer. It's very difficult to replace a doctor. What is it about what you do or what your company does that makes you almost irreplaceable? One of the great business strategies is to organize your business activity that people couldn't think of not buying from you. How could you do to create that perception in your customer's mind? Now remember, the market only pays superior rewards for superior goods and services. The market pays average rewards for average goods and services. The market pays below average rewards, bankruptcy, and failure for substandard products and services. In our competitive market today, unless your products are really, really good, you haven't got a chance. So we say business success comes from developing excellence in a particular market-related area. Excellence is always defined by your customers. What they say is excellent in terms of a product or service. Remember the famous story of the company that spent hundreds of millions of dollars developing the best, most nutritionally advanced dog food in the history of the world? And they came back and they said, well, we got a big problem. What's the problem? It's the best dog food ever developed, but the dogs hate it. And all the money had to be written off. Many people come up with what they think is a wonderful product or service, but the customers don't want it. Now, successful people are those who make a habit of doing what failures don't like to do. You must know yourself, and you must know exactly what it is you want. Goal orientation is an essential requirement of all successful business people. You must determine the price you're going to have to pay to achieve your goals, and then resolve to pay that price. Now, here's what we know is everything worthwhile has a price that must be paid in full in advance. Sometimes people say, well, how do I know if I've paid the price of success? I say it's simple, just look at your life. Because what you have in your life will tell you how much of a price you've paid up to now. If you're not happy with your level of rewards, then you have to pay a higher price in terms of contribution and value. Here's a key to business success. You must accept 100% responsibility for yourself and for everything that you are or ever will be. You must make a total commitment to your success. You'll never find half-hearted successful people. If they don't start a business and say, well, I'll give it a shot and see what happens, they put their whole heart into making this business succeed no matter what happens, and lots of stuff will happen. To be successful in business, you must be willing to work hard. You must be willing to go the extra mile. You must be willing to always do more than you are paid for. You must be always thinking of ways that you could add to your product or service and add something more. To be successful, you must use your time well, every minute and every hour of every day. You must plan every minute, plan every hour, and then you must work your plan. Always think on paper, always work from a list. You have to back your goals and plans with determination and persistence and resolve in advance that you will never give up. You must resolve in advance you will never give up, because the temptations to give up when you have all kinds of problems will be enormous. Now, here are some of the common characteristics of successful business people. This is based on years of research. Number one, they specialize and become very good at their work. This, by the way, is also one of the secrets of self-made entrepreneurial millionaires, is they specialize in a specific area and they put in the weeks, months, and even years to become very good at what they do. In fact, there's no business success unless you are recognized as being one of the best in your field. Second, they become totally absorbed in doing something that they really enjoy. They are very disciplined. They will not get into something unless they really enjoy it, and then they throw their whole heart into doing it well at the very best they possibly can. Interesting characteristic of successful business people is their goal is not to become rich. Their goal is to service a customer with a product or service that's the best in the business. Their total commitment is to make their business successful in satisfying customers. And as a byproduct, they make a very good living and eventually they become wealthy. By doing their work extremely well, they're eventually paid very well. Remember the auction model. The market will bid up the prices and the income of successful individuals and successful businesses. Then their financial success comes to them indirectly while they're focused on producing and selling excellent products and services. So when you focus on satisfying your customers with superb products and services, everything else takes care of itself. There are 5 key abilities of successful business people, again based on years of research. Number one, successful business people have judgment. This is called wisdom, and wisdom is acquired by experience and reflection, especially making mistakes and learning from those mistakes. Now, I speak to successful business people all the time. It's quite a remarkable thing. When you sit down and talk to them about their business lives, their histories, all the conversation is about mistakes they've made and what they learned from them. Every successful person makes an enormous number of mistakes, which they learn from, which gives them the quality of judgment. It enables them to make better decisions in the future. Second quality of successful business people is foresight. Henry Ford once said that the 2 most important qualities for success in business are patience and foresight, and the person who lacks foresight has no chance. Foresight is the ability to see the future. It's the ability to anticipate trends and results. The successful entrepreneur is the person who has the special ability to see into the future and to see what customers will want before someone else does, and then to bring that product or service to the market of a sufficient quality before someone else gets there. So foresight is really important. The third quality of successful business people is leadership. Leadership is the ability to inspire and to get the very best out of each person. Leadership comes when you're clear about what you want to do, you accept total responsibility for results, and then you get everybody else to help you to achieve that big goal. The fourth quality for success in business is communications, which is the ability to interact effectively one-on-one in personal meetings. It's the ability to make presentations to small groups, and it's the ability to communicate on paper. Peter Drucker says that these are the tools of the executives. One-on-one with another person, with a group in a meeting or on your feet, and the ability to write well. And fortunately, these are all learnable skills. The fifth quality is sales ability. Sales ability is the ability to influence and persuade and motivate people to act in a certain way. All top leaders are great salespeople. They get people to go along with them. They get people to take on the assignments. They get people to work harder. They get people to go the extra mile. They have this wonderful ability to persuade people, and this, again, is a learnable skill. As I said, all acquired abilities in business are learnable, and they can be learned by an ambitious, determined individual. You can learn any business skill you need to achieve any goal you can set for yourself. The key to business success is sales, revenue, and cash flow. Cash flow is the lifeblood of the business. Cash flow is generated when a business delivers a satisfactory product or service to a customer who is willing and able to pay. Any interruption to cash flow can threaten the survival of the business. The best business person is the one who focuses on the critical functions of business that generate cash flow. Now, here's an interesting point. They asked a series of executives in a survey, how important is marketing and sales to you? They all said, oh, it's the most important thing of all, the cash flow. It's like blood to the brain. We have to have it. Then they tracked them over a 1-month period. They found that the average senior executive spends 11% of their time on marketing and sales. All the rest is tied up in meetings and administration and signing checks and talking to people and working on the computer. Many small business people, many entrepreneurs, even medium-sized business people don't realize that all of this trivia that overwhelms them is taking them away from what got them in business in the first place, the ability to generate sales, revenue, and cash flow. Now let's talk just for a moment about the difference between the intrapreneur and the entrepreneur. Successful businesses require people with both ways of thinking. Entrepreneurs are those who start businesses and accept the risk and uncertainty of the business in exchange for independence, freedom, and potentially high rewards. Number one reason for starting a business is freedom, and the second reason is the potential for rewards. Entrepreneurs, on the other hand, are those who work within businesses and use their creativity to develop new products, processes, and services for their companies. A perfect example of one of the most famous entrepreneurs is the research chemist at 3M company who developed Post-it notes. He was looking for a piece of paper that would stick in his hymn book when they were singing hymns, could come off easily and not leave a residue. It took him 2 years of experimenting on his own before he came up with the glue in Post-it notes. And he received a bonus, as all people do at 3M who come up with new ideas, that made him a rich man. He was an entrepreneur. He never started his own business. He just worked within an existing business. Every company needs both kinds of people. We need entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs. As a matter of fact, you need far more intrapreneurs than entrepreneurs because there can only be the one in each company. Let me summarize by saying this. The purpose of a business is to create and keep a customer in a cost-effective ways. There are unlimited opportunities for people today to enter into the business world to be successful as entrepreneurs, intrapreneurs, and employees. The key to success in the business world is to contribute to serving and satisfying customers in some way. And there is no limit to how you can satisfy customers faster, better, and cheaper, which means there's no limit to your future in the world of business today.